Hello everyone, welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for stopping by, keeping me company as usual. If you're here with me for the first time, welcome. Please share, subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and feel free to leave your comments in the comments section. To my subscribers and regular viewers, welcome back. Very nice to have you as always, and I do appreciate your company for sure. And you know the ropes, right? You're going to give the video a thumbs up from now on, because you know that when we start to talk about business, you don't want to be disturbed. So please go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Then share with your friends, family, your political friends, and your political foes. Okay, and of course, I thank you in advance. Always. Great. Now that you're back with me, let's get down to business. All right, so what are we talking about? We're on the interview that was done by Comrade Colin Bell. It was an interview he did with Mark Golding. And just as a reminder, Colin Bell was the representative for East Portland. He would have spent up his money. He would have been installed with much fanfare last year. He would have gone up and down the place, spent up his money, and so on. And then, all in a sudden, them decide to kick one foot and put in a twice convicted, criminal, yes, who is now a lawyer, brilliant lawyer apparently. And of course, this would be only the second time we know of in political history that a political party is putting up somebody with that kind of background to come and represent us in Parliament and make laws. So I suppose this interview was supposed to be a show of unity, except it looked like Mr. Colin never get the email. Yes, man, he put on some hard question upon poor Mark. Poor Mark flustered and ramble. Pure rambling, do you know? And making no commitment, only talking about the problems. So now, in the first part of the video, he spoke about the progress, I suppose, of the country thus far, according to him, in the past 10 years, which would have been from 2014 to date. And of course, the Labour Party came to office in 2016. So that would be, 8 years of that 10 years he's talking about. So, of course, the Labour Party will get most of the credit, obviously. So this Englishman basically was asked by Colin in the first part of the interview about what he would do about low wages, low production, low tech economy that we're running, right? Since the polls seem to be showing that the party is on its way to victory. And of course, it was all flustered. Now he asked him another question. To me and you, it would be a simple question, perhaps. But for Marky G, it looked like it was a hard sums he got. And my, was he rambling. Anyway, I want you to listen to the question, and I want you to listen to the response. And I need you to listen carefully, because remember, this Englishman and his sidekick, Peter Bunting, they are both looking to head into Jamaica House. And they have their reasons for wanting to be in Jamaica House. They have not confided in us as yet as to what that reason is. And perhaps it's because they know that we would find it unacceptable. Nevertheless, they are both seeking to find themselves into Jamaica House. Now, naturally, Jamaica House is not something that is there for everybody or anybody's personal ambition or personal achievement. It is an office where the holder is expected to lead the country into economic and social success, right? And therefore, they must come to that office with a plan as to how they are going to achieve this economic and social success for the people. They're supposed to be leading us there. And therefore, when he's asked a question, he ought to have had a plan Remember them on one bench over there now, for the past 8 years. They've been sitting in opposition for the past 8 years. So presumably, they have time, plenty time, to plan what it is they're going to do about every segment of the society. So I want you to listen carefully. I want you to listen carefully to hear if he has a plan. If it's something that he says that they intend to do, or is it something that he is saying that is pointing out the problem? This is the problem that needs to be solved. Is that what he's saying, or is he saying, here is a problem and this is how we intend to solve it? There's a big difference, and you need to listen very, very carefully to hear if he has a plan. But if he does not, you can bet your bottom dollar that you will hear him in future talking about what the PNP intends to do. I'm going to say this to you now. If on this program, this is an opportunity for him to express the plans for the future, and if he's not expressing any, then it stands to reason that there are none. He'll be hearing about this video, and he'll be listening and reading your comments, and therefore in future you can expect him to tailor what it is that he has to say. And what he has to say is what it is that he thinks you need to hear to get your vote, because I think you're all simpletons, right? And even if he comes out now after this to tell you what the PNP plans to do, don't believe nothing of it. Not true. You can't be sitting down for 4 years and expect a general election at any time, and don't sit down with your team, 77 in that what's it, not it, what's it, right? 77 of them in it. From when? A few months ago? Late last year? And you mean to tell me the whole bunch of them cannot sit and come up with a cohesive plan as to what it is the party intends to do based upon its own principles and philosophy? So anything they want to come with, it's just them sit down and just decide after them run some polls, and the polls tell them, yes, the people say the country is going in the wrong direction. So I'm go up on the podium, go tell you, say the country not going in the right direction and we need a new direction, right? This is after them I tell you, say everything all right with the economy now. It's good, and there's more money and fiscal space to do other things now that they couldn't do in the past. I'm going to come tell you now, say you're on the wrong track, right? Don Anderson is going to go out in the field and ask the people about them water supply and them road, and them going to hear what the people have to say and what percentage of the people and what they have to say. The people will also be saying something about the cost of living, and they want to see the numbers that are concerned about the cost of living and the various concerns that people have. And then he goes on the political platform, and that speech that you hear him give, it is directly in response to the information they gather out in the field. In other words, you're not looking at a party with a philosophical position that is going to lead you anywhere. What they are trying to do is get elected, and they are going to sound and make sounds about the things that you are concerned about without having any real plans to do anything about it if you're stupid enough to take them and put them in Jamaica House. Are you understanding me? Yes, you need to share this, I know many of you in my comment section support the Labour Party. You need to get it to outside of the Labour Party realm. Any comrades, anybody who if and butting about voting, send it to them. Because when you meet Mark Bowling anywhere, you need to ask him certain questions, right? And don't just make him come shake your hand and yeah man, yeah man, yeah man, and yeah boss, yeah, and them the kind of foolishness, right? That is not policy. You just see the man and you decide you like him because he drop on white and he drop on a sweet smile upon you, and you decide him is a nice man. You don't know how. That's why they take away for jackass, White people take away for idiot, them really believe so we are idiot. Matter of fact, the Chinese and Indian, everybody think we fool. But that's just how they are, and so What we need to do is to get the message out. Mark Golding is not coming to the people of this country with policies and plans for their future. He's simply getting the poster to go in the field to ask the respondents certain questions, and based upon the responses and the number of persons who respond in that way, them adopt that and say, this needs to be done and we need a new direction, without saying that they intend to go in any new direction. Without saying, even if them tell you that they're going in a new direction, right? They're not tell you which direction they're going in. And you can take that as a sign that they have no intention in going to any. They're not doing anything different. And Mark Golding said so in this interview. You heard him just now. Let me play it for you again so that you understand that whatever it is that he's telling you, this is the part that you must pay attention to, right? Because this now is what he's telling you is his intention. Listen to what he said.
So, where we are now is that side of things is running well, and will continue, I believe, to run well, because the fiscal rules are in our law, and I don't think any government is going to abandon them, because the sacrifices that both sides have incurred in order to get us where we are seen as a national achievement, not just here in Jamaica, but the world sees it as an achievement for us.
So there you have it. He has no intention of going outside of the fiscal rules. Therefore, if you should hear him come suddenly and talking about they are going to be putting money in early childhood education, in school feeding programs, and that sort of thing, take it with a pinch of salt. Because when he had the opportunity, he never said that was what he planned to do. He can say no because it was pointed out that he never said that that was what he planned to do. I wonder if you're following me, my peeps. Yes, in other words, he's going to be seeking to tell the people of Jamaica what it is that he thinks they need to hear in order to get them to go out and vote. But he's not telling you what his plans are, because clearly they have none. And they have none, evidently, perhaps, because they don't understand the problem. Right? Or they may have none because they have no interest in the solutions to our problems. Right? It's all about their personal ambition and nothing at all about you and me. Anyway, let us listen now to this question that Comrade Colin Bell asked his comrade leader, as he called him, the Rise boss, and listen carefully to what it is that he said, whether or not he said this is something that we plan to do, or he's saying this is the problem that we have. So just listen now.
Talk to me about what the PNP will be doing for agriculture.
That's another area, and that's a priority for us, because right now, if you check our economy, we rely on remittances, which we don't have any control over.
Which everybody says is going to fall now. Coming out of what happened in the US earlier this week, people are saying that remittance is going to decline to Jamaica.
It's possible. It's possible because immigration, is going to be an issue for this Trump government. They want to reduce immigration. So that is going to affect the volume of Jamaicans going to the US to generate money that can be sent back here. So yeah, that's a possibility. So, but we're very dependent on it. Then tourism, is another major employer. But our business model for tourism is largely an enclave system, meaning it's around the all-inclusive products. Guests come here, they stay in the hotel, they pay for everything abroad, and they get the services rendered here. The only money that comes to Jamaica is the money to pay the workers and to buy whatever little local inputs are purchased, which is relative, because a lot of the food they consume and so on is imported. So that model is not generating for the economy what it ought to. You understand? In other words, the impact on the economy could be much greater if tourism was more integrated into the economy than it is. Our model is like a scratch the surface model. And we need to...
Well, I told my listeners earlier this morning that Jamaica don't even make 1% of what tourism is valued on the global stage on an yearly basis.
Right. And you hear the Minister of Tourism saying, oh, well, you know, our annual earnings are now over 4 billion US and so on. But it's misleading because he's talking about gross earnings that tourists pay, but that money don't come here. That money goes into the hotels' accounts abroad, and what is brought here is what is needed to pay people here or to buy things here. And that is relatively a small amount. So the retention of the tourism earnings that actually is flowing into our economy is not what it should be.
So wait, wasn't the question about agriculture and what the PNP plan to do about agriculture? So how him catch on tourism? This is a classic case of stalling for time. He did not know the answer, and so he went on to a different topic, again pointing out the problems, not saying what they intend to do about it, even as he was not answering the question, but answering a different question that was not asked of him. When him thinking, that is why he's rambling, just as I'm rambling a bit too, I must confess, yes, I hope you don't mind. But just as he's rambling now about tourism, he's in the back of his mind asking himself how he's going to answer that question. And when he found a way, you see him jump back to agriculture. Let's listen, and you will see exactly what I mean.
And that's partly to do with the model. And so we need to really encourage, as a government, and adopt a policy that encourages other models. The rest of the Caribbean has done that more successfully than us. So we have beach access issues and so many things to talk about. But we want to make tourism have a greater impact and is more integrated. Agriculture is important because the rural economy is dependent on it. And the way in which agriculture is being done in Jamaica now, it's struggling. Farmers have a really hard time in this country. Farm roads are terrible. There's no storage facilities for them. There's no market support for them. The inputs are extremely expensive. And irrigation is only available in certain parts of the country and not others and what have you. So water is a critical ingredient, of course, input, I should say, is a problem. So we see agriculture as having potential to move significantly forward from where it is. After all, we have the products, the quality of the products that the world craves, whether it be coffee, ginger, Sea Island cotton, turmeric, cocoa, ganja, the whole range. We have that. So the potential is there, and we need to just focus on sorting out the agriculture industry and putting the necessary things in place so that the farmers can be productive. And we have a model which has worked quite well in the poultry industry. It's controversial because some people feel that the poultry industry shouldn't be protected by duties and so on.
Right.
But tens of thousands of Jamaicans make their living out of it. And if we were to just expose it to the imports of subsidized chicken from abroad, it would destroy the industry. So we have to be careful how we manage that. But
one of the problem farmers are complaining about is that they don't have access to money.
Right. Credit.
The PNP administration make access to money for farmers, that they can get the money at a low interest rate and some kind of security, because one of the problem, farmers don't have land, yet we have so many idle lands in Jamaica.
Absolutely. The PC banks, People's Cooperative Banks, is a construct that is out of our socialist past. The idea of funding financial resources for farmers through community-based banks.
Out of our socialist past. So what is our present? What is the Englishman saying is our present? Mr. Englishman, what is our present? If the PC Bank is out of our socialist past, what is in our present? Kindly send this video to my comrade brothers and sisters. Send it to them. Now, I want my peeps to understand something. There is one glue that keeps the authentic PNP together, and that is the ideology of democratic socialism. Anytime you see a comrade, ask the comrade if they are still democratic socialists and hear what them say. They are going to tell you that they are socialists before them are PNP. You hear what I said, my peeps? Because socialism is not just an ideology for some people. It is a way of life. It is thinking about the next man, thinking about those who are less fortunate. That is what they do. If you listen to how PNP people talk, that is how they always talk. Anybody where you see about an orange who don't talk that way, that are the risers them, right? Them is a species of a different order, right? So, when this Englishman is going to talk about the socialist past, he's telling the comrades something, right, that he probably think they won't notice, right? That is in the past. So the PNP under this clown is no longer a socialist party. So all of them people you see run up and down behind them, going like them frightened. Kindly point out to them that this man is not a socialist, and the PNP that he is leading is not a socialist party. So they must decide whether or not they're going to follow this clown and become a capitalist, which is a business-oriented system about profits, not people. What this capitalist system anticipate that in the quest for profits that people would benefit by getting jobs. That's what that is about. So the comrades need to know before they go skin up with this man and about to no mark and not go with gold. We're not go with him, go. We're not going with him. This man is not a socialist, not a democratic socialist. You don't believe it? Tell him to go up on the political platform and declare that he's a democratic socialist and is following socialist principles. Hear him talk about open economy. And in that policy paper that was developed by Comrade Bogues and his team, they are not talking about socialism, about people. They're talking about what they call a mixed economy, which is exactly what Jamaica is and has always been. A mix of government and a mix of private sector. But them think them cute. They're talking about mixed economy, social justice, and equal rights. Them talking about social justice and equal rights. Two nice buzzwords, none of which is achievable. But that's what them talking about. They are also talking about the role of government, because the key to whether a system is capitalist or socialist depends on the role of the government. At the moment, the government has a significant role. It is dealing with education, controlling a vast portion of the education system, primary and high school, right? It is also controlling a great portion of the health system, the public hospitals, the clinics, which deals with the primary care of the people. The government is also in housing to some extent, subsidizing housing. The difference, though, is that the government does not preclude anybody from setting up their own school, high school, or setting up their own hospitals, right? And anything they want to do, they can do it as private citizens, right? Now, they are talking about this clown and his sidekick, Peter Bunting. They are talking about a minimalist government, meaning that the government is going to only be in the market to regulate. That is a capitalist system, right? Just like what happened in the United States. The difference is that the United States has a huge middle income group. We have a huge poor people group, and that is why a system that is a capitalist system will never work here except to create more poverty and on top of more poverty for the people. You follow? Great. So until such time when we can get the people and move them out of poorness into the middle income, or what we call middle class, we have to continue with a largely socialist type of system. You follow? Yes, we have to take care of the things that the people can't take care of for themselves. Otherwise, the country is not going to be able to move. Certainly, the people, the children, will not be able to be elevated to, to any other position except being poor. So it will be a generational poverty situation, and that we do not want. And so that is why the government from the 70s, they abandoned it a bit in the 80s. In the 90s, Bruce came back with it. The PNP continued with it, which is to keep the education largely funded by taxes, right? But of course, our big problem is, so we spend the money upon the blasted picnic them, the picnic them take up and gone a foreign, because foreign is offering them way more money for their labor. And you cannot blame them, because the only thing they have is their labor. They don't have nothing else to realize their hopes and their dreams for their own future and that of their families. Right? They're not rich people. So let's continue and listen to what he has to say.
The problem, as I understand it, has been that the requirements that those banks are now imposing in order to access credit from them are onerous, too onerous for many farmers to meet, so that they're not able to borrow. We need to really revisit that and make sure that the flow of credit through those channels is sufficient and is on terms that the farmers can feel comfortable borrowing.
So the terms set by these borrowing agencies are too onerous for the farmers. And according to him, we need to really revisit that and make sure that the flow of credit through those channels is sufficient and is on terms that the farmers can feel comfortable borrowing. What all that mean? You know, go consult with the farmers them to find out at what terms they are comfortable borrowing. So this man is simply talking off the top of his head. He was asked about credit for those farmers who need to borrow in order to farm. He has clearly not looked at that, right? And how he's going to deal with it. So he's just talking off the top of his head. He has no plans, and he clearly has not looked at agriculture and come with any solution that will help the farmers. Send this, go give the farmers for me, please, that you know. Because if in 4 years he has not dealt with something that he claims is critical, then it stands to reason that he has no real interest in agriculture. He's simply telling the farmers what they want to hear. And what they want to hear, where you get the information from? By the Don Anderson poll. He's going out there asking questions, and when the farmers give the responses, he comes on programs like this and repeat what it is that needs to be done without any real intention of doing anything, because what he's on is a mission to gain vote. He wants to win election, but that is all he wants, to win the election. There is no plan as to what he's going to do, right, if the people were stupid enough to put him in government. And that is the point.
You know, we have to provide the inputs to farmers. Listen, man, it's hard enough when we are faced weather issues and risks, plant diseases and pests. Larceny. It's not an easy thing, you know. Rate every farmer, you know. Every farmer is a star because they have to go through to make it work.
I want to make this pitch though, opposition leader, that if we don't protect our farmers, if we don't ensure that we have food security in this country, trouble dead, you know.
Trouble dead, man.
Trouble dead.
And the pandemic kind of established it because...
And it don't look like we learn nothing from that.
Exactly.
Because we have not... Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying the global supply chain is vulnerable to all kind of things.
Big time.
You know, whether it be geopolitical war, you know, boycotts, weather issues, pandemic issues. So we have the capacity to be big players in agriculture through the products that we have that are in demand. And Jamaican yam and ackee, even those basic things that the world wants. So, I mean, right now, Jamaican yam has stepped up well, although the hurricane lick it hard still. But over the last period of time, we've seen the potential for it. So, what I'm really saying is that agriculture has to be, if you think of the economy as a stool, with different legs, agriculture has to be one of the legs, because that will increase wealth in rural parts of Jamaica as well, which is very important.
Now we are going to end this segment of the interview here. And it was mainly supposed to be about agriculture, but as you can see, he went and talked about tourism. And long and short of what he was saying about tourism, he's talking about a model that works in the islands. Seems as if he's suggesting we don't have a model here. And that he was criticizing the government for saying that the tourism earnings is about $4 billion US. He's saying that is, I guess if he used the word misleading, because the majority of that money stays overseas and only money to buy stuff here. Pay for staff, pay for the light bill and the water bill and the taxes and so on. That's all that they bring back, right? So he's saying that Jamaica is not benefiting from the tourism industry, with the exception of what it is that the tourists spend when they come, and what it is that the hotels are required to convert into Jamaican in order to pay them local bills. Part of that local bills also would be food, except for some of these hotels have been bringing in their own food from elsewhere. All right? So he spoke about that. But what he did not do was to say anything about how it is that they plan on making tourism work in the way in which he's critiquing it, right? Except to talk about beach access, which we know is not going to happen. You know why? Because it's going to open the door again for harassment on the beach, because he has not solved the problem of what it is he's going to do about these people are working age in terms of their income. So people will always see as an option preying on the tourists, because for them, people pay them good money and they're all seen as being rich. I wonder if you understand me. So unless we are brought up at least as close to them in terms of income, you will not be able to solve that problem, right? So there you have that. Now, in terms of agriculture, when he finally got onto the topic, he spoke about the global supply chain. Now, what is the global supply chain? So the global supply chain, it says here, is a network of people, processes, technology, and data that spans multiple countries and organizations to source, manufacture, and deliver goods and services. In other words, raw material, for example, may come from, say, in Africa, if they're talking about food. So they might send palm oil or to Europe. They process it and resell it to Jamaica, to US, to all over the world. And that's in terms of palm oil, that's what they call a chain, a supply chain. You follow? So that's basically what that is. But the thing I find most interesting in what he said was when he talked about the yam and the ackee. Listen to what this man said. We have the capacity to be big players in agriculture through the products that we have that are in demand. Jamaican ackee and Jamaican yam. Those basic things the world wants. Now, let me ask you something, my peeps. What kind of capacity can Jamaica have? First of all, it's a little tiny island. That's the first thing. And the majority of the land is mountainous, right? I don't think we have a great deal of arable land to plant anything of scale, meaning large tracts of land on which we can do large scale agriculture. And we're talking about a single farm of a 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, as happened elsewhere in the world where the lands, they have a larger land mass. So when he's going to come and talk that Jamaica has the capacity to be big players in agriculture, what the hell is he talking about? See the man don't know what I'm talking about. When them South American countries plant 1 million acres of banana, and we're talking about one farm of 1 million acres. And the Australian plant how much acres? Hundreds of thousands of acres of sugar cane. How can we expect to compete with such large acreages of farm, with a 4,000 acre farm, a 5-acre farm, a 100-acre farm? It's just not possible. What about the people in Idaho? 22 million pounds of potatoes that they're producing. A family of 4 on a single farm. Now, this is a sign that this man does not know what he is talking about. Jamaica has no capacity to be a big player in anything at all, whether yam or ackee. And which part in the world people are demand ackee? The African them don't even eat it. I'm afraid of it. And we one, as far as we know, eat ackee. So he's just talking off the top of his head, and he just exposed himself as being somebody who is ignorant about agriculture. Jamaica has the capacity to be big players in agriculture for yam and ackee. He babbled himself into a corner that has shown us that he has no clue as to what he's talking about. No clue. And we must ask ourselves the question again. Why does he want to be Prime Minister of Jamaica? I suggest to you, my peeps, that he does not want to be Prime Minister of this country. Right? Him holding that seat for Peter Bunting until Peter Bunting get a seat. But what does Peter Bunting himself know? Because if Martin don't know, Peter Bunting don't know either. It's all about what it is that they can get out of government. They want to get into Jamaica House in order to enrich themselves further, whatever you hear, because clearly they are not about our business. So they must therefore be about their business. Anyway, folks, let me leave it here for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for sharing, liking, leaving your comments, and subscribing. Until next time, you take very good care of yourselves. You hear? And walk good.